Light the beam. Where's the camera? Here we go. Light the beam, because it's time for Nerdy for 30, the podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish movies for 30-ish minutes. Hell of a concept. My name is Kevin Bauer, a.k.a. the Critic's Choice. With me, as always, is my co-host, the People's Champ. It's Tim Keck.
Yeah. I don't know.
I like that. No, I like it. Roll up the guns.
And then I'll mean mug for anyone watching on YouTube. Little flex, little guns. Sun's out, guns out. It's summertime, baby.
There's all you need. Look at that flex. If you're listening to this on Spotify, stop whatever you're doing right now. Switch over to YouTube, because that's where the real action is happening. The Ringer switched over to YouTube. We are too. But hey, we're not talking about the Ringer today.
Real monetization.
It is. It's much better monetization. We're not talking about monetization today. We're talking about The Fall Guy. Now, longtime listeners of this podcast will obviously know Tim's relationship to Ryan Gosling. Fraught is maybe the most generous word that I can use to describe it. So it is with great anticipation that I ask the climactic question. Tim, what did you think of The Fall Guy?
I liked The Fall Guy. I thought it was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. It was a pleasant romp. It actually made me think it is like the kind of movie you go to the movies to watch. There's like big practical stunts. It's like honoring movies. It's honoring the stunt industry. Emily Blunt, beautiful, talented, incredible. Aaron Taylor Johnson, a convincing leading man. And then there's Ryan Gosling, who has perfected this like bum burnout character that kind of drifts through life without any real talent. And he's not playing a leading man, which is why he's the perfect leading man for a movie that is centered around a stunt guy who does all of his best work behind the scenes and is seen but not heard from. So I think he is genuinely convincing as a stunt guy with no charisma, with no on-camera presence. It works. It works for me. I enjoyed it. So what about you, Kevin?
I mean, I'm still kind of processing how to deal with that backhanded compliment on his behalf. I thought it was all right. I thought this is a messy movie. And
it's a mess.
I think it's a fun mess. It's a mess. Like it's definitely a little too long. So, I think we hit it with that classic Nerdy for 30. Should have been a little tighter. And could have cut some scenes, and I think that's kind of my take.
There are times in it where I'm like, oh, but we're in the middle of hunting down a killer, and all of a sudden we're back on the movie set just filming scenes like nothing happened.
You can't do that.
You know what? I embraced it. It was it's flimsy, it's sloppy, but that's the work of the stuntman. You got to kind of move around, take what you can, get hit, get back up. And, you're on one set, then you're on another. Now you have to do something else. Now, it just felt like a nice, movie going stuntman experience. Yeah, I mean, it was good. I also was very excited to see this IP revived. I really lost my mind when
Lee Majors.
My gosh, I don't even know who it was. At the very end of the movie, they're like, oh, there's like two cameos. Oh, Lee Majors. Is that who it is? Or is that somebody else in the movie? I don't know. I don't know who these people are. But at the very end of the movie, two people show up and it's like, oh, these are clearly the Fall Guy people. Yeah. Had no idea. Did not care. They're not super interesting. Never heard of this before. But it made an okay movie. And again, Ryan Gosling was okay in this in the best way. And I think it really worked.
So, I mean, all right. I'm with you on the cameo. I learned that it was based on old IP during that cameo. It's one of those things we've talked about this a million times. The way that it's shot, you can tell exactly what's going on, even if you don't have any familiarity with it. I mean, I guess props to them, like good on them for including them, but it's unnecessary. The whole post-credit scene was unnecessary, a little bit confusing. We definitely didn't need to see Stephanie Hsu asking for Jason Momoa's agent. It was a bad tag to end the movie on, but I thought it was like consistent with how messy the rest of this movie was. Can I pitch to you? Can we dig right into this? Can I pitch to you how I would clean this thing up?
Sure. Yeah, let's go. Wait, are we going to do mail too? or we're saving that for another time?
Oh, you know what? So we did receive a couple pieces of mail about this, mostly just from people, our pals Corey Frame and Ben Balrookie, both expressing how excited they were to hear your take on this movie and how it fit in with your Ryan Gosling takes in general.
Okay.
I think we've covered.
I think I will. I have more on Gosling. I think he took a page out of The Rock's acting book and he put on some pounds for this movie. And I think it helped. I think him getting more jacked. He looked kind of jacked in this. And he looked like a stunt guy. And this is the closest to a badass I've ever seen him be. Like, the fighting felt realistic. It just kind of worked for me in a way that I've never seen him as like an action star work for me before. Again, zero charisma, no talent as an actor. But again, that's not what the thing is. I will say, if you compare and contrast him with Aaron Taylor Johnson, I always liked Aaron Taylor Johnson. I feel like he's just another guy that's just like kind of there, not a big deal, never really the big center of attention.
Okay.
The way he's like a Taylor Kitsch level of just like,
oh, that's
guy that insult. I kind of like, and he's there. Yeah, it is an insult, I guess. But I like him. I think they're both great, but Aaron is good. And I think in the scenes with Ryan Gosling, it is clear that Aaron Tyler Joy has something that Ryan Gosling does not. Aaron Taylor Johnson, Aaron Taylor Joy. Yeah.
Anya Taylor Joy. Yeah, you nailed it.
Whatever. I don't know his name, but ATJ is a better actor than Ryan Gosling. And I think that's obvious. And when they are next to each other, I do buy that ATJ is the star of the movie, that Ryan Gosling is a like a stunt double or like stand-in for this guy. ATJ is just he's more charismatic than Ryan Gosling is. He feels like a leading man. But then if we compare and contrast both of them with the Jason Momoa cameo, that was god awful. That sucked. I hated seeing Jason Momoa in this. He looked so bad. He gave the speech. ATJ gave the speech on the car, and it was so dumb, but I kind of got into it. I kind of believed it. Ryan Gosling could never deliver that speech, and now we know Jason Momoa also incapable of delivering that speech in an empowering way. He just looked kind of like a buffoon. He looked so much bigger than the other guys. He just looked kind of clumsy. I like Jason Momoa, obviously a legendary Hollywood hang. I did not think it was the right role for him. I think if you're grabbing a celebrity, I don't know who else you grab, but I wouldn't have grabbed him. I didn't love it. I thought ATJ and Ryan Gosling were both better in the movie scenes that Jason Momoa filled in for.
Well, I mean, obviously the Momoa part is supposed to be it's supposed to be an extreme comedic example of what somebody could do in this role. So I think he fit that well, where he was so clearly out of place. But I think he had a lot of fun with it. This is wild. We're like, I feel like we're very rarely this misaligned, because normally kind of critical of Momoa doesn't always hit for me. Definitely doesn't hit for me in the Aquaman movies. But in this, I was like, all right, this is fun, because he is so charismatic as a person and is such a legendary fun hang that seeing him in this, I'm like, this is great. This is him. I feel like being who he is as a person. Aaron Taylor Johnson in this, I mean, like, I think he did the role well. I'm trying to lock in on what exactly you like in this leading man quality, because I agree that Aaron Taylor Johnson, it's not specifically acting, because what you seem to be bouncing off of is the way that Gosling underplays things. You seem to be interpreting the fact that he is playing things a lot more subtle and a lot less heightened as a lack of charisma and a lack of acting talent. Whereas like Aaron Taylor Johnson is good, but everything he does is very heightened. So like he's playing Godzilla 2014 the same way he's playing Bullet Train, which works really well in Bullet Train, but can lead to some kind of awkward moments in Godzilla 2014 when he's being more extreme in scenes than Bryan Cranston or what's her name? The twins' sister, Scarlet Witch. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, his sister in MCU.
Yeah, his
that's
sister
always
wife.
Fun, you know.
Yeah, anytime. That's so weird.
Some actors playing sisters, parents. They're playing relatives, and all of a sudden they're love interests in the next movie. Like somebody saw that. Somebody saw one of those first, right?
Sure. Somebody
saw them with chemistry, either as siblings or dating, and they were like, "I'd like to see the other one." that family unit looks dateable. You know, they've got real chemistry. That brotherly, sisterly chemistry. Let's put that in the bedroom and see how this goes. It's a very weird dynamic, I think, but
it's also weird because Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in one of the versions of the comics were in a relationship despite the fact that they were siblings, which was super weird, super. Also, before we jump off this, because I do think this is interesting, and I don't know if you knew this, did you know that I think it was the oldest son, Brady, was dating the mom, Brady, on the Brady Bunch? So the actor that played the oldest Brady son was dating the actor that played the mom on the Brady Bunch.
Wow.
While the show was shooting.
I thought the kids all dated each other, but I didn't realize the mom was getting in there too.
I think it was just them. I don't know anything about any of the kids dating each other, but yeah just a weird one. Got to be a weird workplace.
Kind of makes sense. People meet at work. It's a great place, low pressure. You know, you're on a team. You're working towards a common goal.
Sure.
You know, you go out to a happy hour. A couple people head out. You decide to stick around for one more drink. One thing leads to another. You're not talking about reports anymore. You're talking about your families and getting lost in each other's eyes. And then you go back to her place and have a beautiful night together. And the next day you're like, is this going to be awkward now? Is it going to be weird? But then you go in and you see her smile and you realize, yeah, this was a huge fucking mistake. I'm so fucked right now. This is going to bite me in the ass so goddamn hard. This was a terrible idea. Stupid. God. You open the company up to lawsuits. Oh, it's just nothing good. Even though we did at a company I worked at, there was a lawyer who came in and was like, hey, you know, we would appreciate it if you didn't date at work. You know, like that'd be good. And it's like, obviously that's better for the company if they're not dating. Sure. But he's like, you know, you don't need to, you know, now they've got all the online dating. They've got all the apps. You know, if I met my wife at work, that was the other thing is everyone who tells you not to date at work is like, I met my wife at work. I met my husband at work. Like it's all, no one takes their own advice here, but they're like, man, though, if I had the apps, I would have been out there tearing it up. And it's like, yeah, cool. But you still married someone you worked with, and work is still a great place to meet people. So I don't know. Very weird.
It's like somebody in a Scared Straight program just glorifying all the activity they're supposed to discourage. Like, oh man, you know, you got to get off the streets. You can't use heroin. I remember when I used heroin. Best time of my life. Best I've ever felt. I still chase that feeling every single day. Don't do it. But man, you will never feel better than if you do it. But don't. Boy, oh boy, it's easy to get.
Nothing's worse than huffing glue, but I'll tell you, nothing like it. Nothing like it. You ever drive a convertible, breeze in your hair, salt smell in your nose? It's like that first hit of glue. I'm telling you, but it's bad. It's bad. You don't want any part of that.
That's behind you, Richard. That's behind you.
I know we always argue about this, but I think you see Ryan Gosling as understated, and I see him as doing the best he can. I don't think there is anything else to state. There is nothing more to this guy. He is just an okay actor who's occasionally funny, who's a little more convincing as a badass now because he's jacked like The Rock, and not a good actor. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. Emily Blunt, insane actor. And I think maybe you're just blinded by how good of a talent Emily Blunt is, because she is creating chemistry where there is none, you know. But even then, Ryan Gosling is like, you know how everyone has like a charismatic friend, and then they roll in one day with just like some kind of dud. And they're like, oh, well, he's funny when it's just us. And you're like, oh, OK, cool. That's kind of like Emily Blunt rolling in. And she's like, well, I'm dating Ryan Gosling. And you're like, OK, cool. So he's like, I don't know. Does he have a cool hobby or money or something? Or like why does this work? Introvert, outtrovert, an outside cat with an indoor cat. I guess that's the vibe. Ryan Gosling's got indoor cat energy.
I tell you what, man, you are either completely insane or you're the only sane person on this planet. And the rest of us are going to come to see what you're talking about in years. You're not insane about one thing, though. Emily Blunt, terrific. I mean, I've been on the Emily Blunt train since Devil Wears Prada. Incredible showing in, what's it? I always want to call it Day After Tomorrow.
Edge of Extinction.
Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah.
Edge of Tomorrow. I knew it's one of them. I just throw words together and hope one of them sticks.
Eventually, she's amazing in that. Yeah. If you put a bunch of chimpanzees in a room with a typewriter and leave them alone for 20 minutes, they're going to come up with Edge of Tomorrow. Just the title, not the movie. The movie's great. Title, terrible.
It is true.
Man, she's so good. I want so much more of her in any different variation of movie. She's good in an action movie. She's good in a rom-com. Like, I think the only thing I didn't really like her in was Oppenheimer, to be honest. But that's just because the part was ridiculous. It was just such a stereotypical, like, Oscar-winning movie part. She's great, dude. It was cheesy.
And she's done horror. She's done the, whatchamacallit, the John Krasinski movies.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, my God. She's great. She's a true star.
Yeah. She's incredible. She should be more famous, more box office than she is.
Definitely.
Which I think is the problem with both these guys, is neither of them are popular enough to be like opening a movie like this that costs this much. Yeah. Which is a bummer, because I think the movie is fun. I think it's the kind of thing you'd see on TV forever, and it's a good time. It's fun. It's fun.
It's definitely fun. I think it could be more fun. I think.
Yes. How would you fix?
We both talked about the fact that you feel a massive slowdown in momentum when we leave the search for Aaron Taylor Johnson and we return to work. I think you need to make this basically a One Crazy Night movie. So I think you tighten up the stuff at the beginning. I don't think we need as much backstory before we get to the fun stuff. You can probably trim 5 off the beginning of the movie before he even comes to the set for Metal Storm. Then I think basically you restructure the action so that once he is sent out by Hannah Waddingham on this search for Aaron Taylor Johnson, he stays on that search until the end of the movie. And maybe, it's kind of like an overnight thing. Maybe by the end of the movie, they have already started shooting for the next day and he's able to sneak back onto the set that way. But I think we can't go back for multiple days and nights. I think we have to keep that momentum rolling once we have it.
It's weird. I think it's tough. Because I do also like the idea that he is fighting bad guys in the back of a truck, but is also rushing to get to karaoke so that he doesn't let Emily Blunt down. Like, that's kind of funny. And that same energy keeps him on set. And it's like, okay, I have to go back to the set. She has to make this is my number one priority. And it feels like the Tom Ryder stuff kind of just gets in the way of the thing he's really there to do. So I don't know. I mean, it could definitely be tightened up, but I do think kind of the fun of it is that it is bouncing around.
I think you can still keep
even if the crime thing
though.
Doesn't make much sense. I don't know.
What the actual plot that they have?
Yeah, the plot is weird.
It's very complicated.
And it is weird that it's interspersed with the movie, but man, the movie stuff is fun. It's cool to watch them do the stunts and get blown up, and they have great chemistry in it. All those quiet scenes where you don't have to listen to Ryan Gosling talk. They have great visual chemistry, and it's fun. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I disagree a little bit on that. I think it was just a fun, dumb ride, and I wasn't expecting more from it. I do like their relationship a lot, though, in the sense that this is not a first meeting.
Yeah,
this isn't a relationship that's been going on. This is like an attempt at reconnecting with an old flame. So their relationship is already loaded when they meet each other, when they reunite. And that's super fun. That's just a good way to do things, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it works for me. I guess, I said they could shorten up the beginning, and maybe it is better served as a mystery that pays off later. But I was really curious why he would just ghost her in the beginning of the movie like that. I wasn't really behind his mentality because they seemed so good together and they seemed so into each other that it felt like they had more of a relationship. So it was surprising to me that when he got hurt, he ghosted her like that. But like, did she not know where he lived? Like, could she not come over? What was he just like hiding behind the curtains, looking through?
Yeah, I mean, anytime somebody ghosts me, I go to their physical location immediately and don't take no for an answer. That's how you stick the landing there.
Different.
Yes. Well, I know where they work because it's only coworkers.
Oh
so,
my God.
No, it's weird. I don't know this. I like the idea of this a lot, where he gives a monologue about the thumbs up and how every stuntman is supposed to give the thumbs up and they're supposed to be cool and rad and everything's okay. And I did kind of relate to the idea of like, that's the expectation. And if I'm not that person, maybe you won't want to stick around.
That is cool.
And
I do like that a lot.
That's something that could have been more, because you're right. It does also feel like this is a conversation problem, which, I mean, that happens in relationships. People date and everyone's like, outside looking in, it's amazing. But then when you're in it, you're just like, okay, I just got to run away from you for 18 months or whatever it is. And you're like, oh, yeah, this is a conversation, though. Him just being like, hey, I broke my back. I'm going to be kind of out of it for a while. And I don't want to put you through that. Done. And now we don't need this entire movie. So, yeah. Again, I blame Ryan Gosling.
As well you should. This has me wondering if we should rearrange our plans. We had originally planned to do our annual Lethal Weapon Gosling double feature this fall with Lethal Weapon 4 and La La Land. I don't think La La Land is going to cover any ground you haven't already covered, frankly. Like, we know that you like him in a musical. You're going to like him in La La Land. There's no challenge there. I think what we should see... But I haven't
seen it. Okay, where are you going with this?
It's going to be the same you talk about with Ken. You're just going to be like, yeah, when this guy's singing, he's good. But like when he's not singing, I want him to stop talking.
But him being good for an entire movie is unheard of.
It's a lot of singing in the movie. What I'm wondering is basically if we should switch things up and if we should watch either some like Ryan Gosling indie fare, like Lars and the Real Girl, which I've referenced a few times in terms of like what I believe his weirdo heart is. Or do we watch the fucking Notebook? Do we have to put this thing to bed by watching the Notebook so that you can see him actually give a monologue and show some emotional range? I mean, this was like Gosling when he was like rom-com, like soft boy heartthrob Gosling. He's very like doughy in the movie. He's got a really bad beard and he's just like this romantic figure. This is before he got completely fucking shredded for all these other movies.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, one crap movie versus another crap movie, It doesn't make a difference to me, We're just talking about, I don't know, we're trying to eat a piece of shit and we're like, well, what if we fry it? What if we sous vide it? What if we throw it in the air fryer for a little bit, bake this thing? It is what it is, And
I'm out here
we can consume mediocrity however you want to.
All right. Do you see at least, I'm wondering if I can get a little bit of a silver lining from this cloud. Do you see what I'm talking about with this and The Nice Guys when he plays this kind of like hapless, like kind of bumbling idiot character who has so many things go wrong for him? Do you see what I mean when I say that this guy would make the perfect fucking Hawkeye based on like the Matt Fraction Hawkeye noir arc?
No. But I don't know. Is Hawkeye a bumbling mess who like it trips and falls over stuff and clumsy? Is Hawkeye clumsy?
I think he is portrayed two distinct ways in media. He is either displayed as like a full on like hot shot, cocky guy who doesn't miss like Glenn Stewart. Glenn Stewart is like, that's the guy's name, right? From like Top Gun and everything. He's
I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, Top Gun. Everybody wants some. Glenn Stewart. He's popping off. He's the guy in the new Twisters.
It's definitely not Glenn Stewart.
They're like,
Glenn,
that's one of
Powell?
the Glenn. Yeah, Glenn Powell. Glenn Stewart sounds like the name of a 1940s orchestra conductor.
Yeah, it sounds like a Green Lantern.
It does. Yeah, Glenn Powell. He's like, I feel like that's one depiction of him where it's like he's got that $1 million smile. He doesn't miss. That's him. The other depiction of him is like the Matt Fraction series where he's a joke because he's a guy with a bow and arrow on a team of literal gods. And so he's the one that can't quite keep up with everybody else. And he is taking the hardest hits. He doesn't have a healing factor. He can't heal like everybody else. So he's kind of wearing his work a little bit more heavy than everybody else around him. I feel like Gosling is perfect for the latter.
I only push back because I still think Hawkeye in both situations is a good shooter. He's great with the bow and arrow. He is very talented in both situations. And the idea of Ryan Gosling doing anything with precision doesn't fit with me.
I mean, do you include the stunts in this movie?
I think that's fun. Because now in the New Guys and Ken and this movie, it's like kind of the same character where it is this kind of burnout loser bro. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the best version of that. I mean, Ken's pretty good, but it's a little different vibe. And this is the most believable he is. Like he's almost playing a real person. Mm-hmm. This guy is like clumsy and fun. And even his fighting style. I mean, my favorite is like when they're prepping to fight the guys coming into the house and he's got the gun with the blanks and he moves the sofa over because he knows he's going to go through the top of it and land on the sofa and have the guy land on the ground and then kind of bumbles through this. Like, that's really fun.
Yeah.
Him taking damage and kind of stumbling through this thing while still having skills and taking over things, but like playing by the seat of his pants is fun. I think this is the best he's done with that kind of character for sure.
I think you're onto something there. I think you're right. These are very much cut from the same cloth. I think he may be doing that thing too, where now he's in the like super handsome movie star guy mode, where if he's going to be funny, his best chance of doing it is undercutting himself. Like,
yeah. I think, the hottest thing hot people can do is dress terribly. And just look like bums. It's incredible. Like long beard, scraggly thing. He could throw on a beanie and be like in a surfing movie. He could do like, I don't know. I think the trick is for him to just play as homeless as possible in every future project. I think he's really heading that way. And I think he's really figuring himself out. And maybe that's who he really is. When he's not singing and dancing, he's just kind of like a hobo at home and wears his PJs and hangs out, I don't know.
I mean, if you keep giving reviews like this, the man's going to be out of a house in no time.
Has Ryan Gosling ever heard genuine laughter from somebody?
I mean,
has Ryan Gosling ever made a joke and people were like couldn't stop laughing? Like couldn't help it. Like a genuine laugh, not this is Ryan Gosling. I should be fun. I should like, humor him. Has he ever has anyone ever had like a genuinely good time around Ryan Gosling?
Yeah, of course they have. I have a good time just watching him. He makes me, I think he's really good at physical bits. His physical stuff in The Nice Guys is super good. Like he just does a face in La La Land that's hilarious. Like,
okay, 1 year from now is Ryan Gosling and Eva Mendes ever going to have dinner with Emily Blunt and John Krasinski? Let's say like a year from now, like we're not promoting the movie anymore. We're a year out. They're both in the same town. Come on over. We're making pizza. We got the stone oven outside. Yeah.
No way.
That's what I think.
There's no way. No, yeah. There's a quote unquote scheduling conflict. They wish they could make it. They just can't make it. There's no way it happens.
Yeah. I mean, that's who I think he is. I think and the Blunt Krasinski like squad, I think is pretty deep. You know, they're degrees away from Taylor Swift. They've got like, you know, Ryan Reynolds, the Hugh Jackman connection. They're like all the Office peeps. It just seems like for some pretty sociable people, I don't know. Ryan Gosling doesn't rub me that way.
That's wild, man. Krasinski is the dud you mentioned that analogy earlier. He's Emily Blunt's dud that she brought to the party.
I disagree too. Wow. I also disagree. John Krasinski's fun. I can imagine John Krasinski making a joke and I can imagine hanging out with John Krasinski and it being a good time. I cannot imagine going over to Ryan Gosling and Eva Mendes's house and just like laughing till I cry. Are you kidding me? No, not a chance. Not a goddamn chance. That's a fun party. Wow. That's like a house nobody wants to go to, you know, like they're the couple in the group and everyone's like swapping houses. You know, they're like, well, we have dinner here one night, dinner here one night, dinner here one night. And there's that one that you're all like, but we have to. And the vibe's going to be off. You know, it's fun everywhere else. But there, you know, there's some weird rules about like, I don't know, like the layout of the house is like a little more sequestered. So, you know, it's not an they don't live in an open concept home. I can tell you that house has rooms in it.
Dude,
Ryan Gosling is a room guy.
I feel like you go over there and it would be one of those situations where they have it decorated exactly like a traditional Japanese home, like a very dated, but like traditional Japanese home. And so they're like, all right, take your shoes off. It's one of the tables where you kneel to eat at the table. And it's like, oh, I didn't realize that you had lived in Japan or grew up in Japan. They're like, no, we didn't. Oh, do you have like a good trip there? No, never been.
They both just love the Wolverine.
Yeah.
And they're obsessed with that culture. Ryan Gosling referring to himself as the White Wolf while practicing with a katana or one of those wood blocks with like the little sticks out for kung fu.
I know exactly the wood block you're talking about. If he has like a kimono with a wolf's head embroidered over here and then a full wolf and like a snarling motion on the back.
Yeah. Yeah. He's developed his own fighting style that includes a lot of this. A lot of like kind of like growling paws before he does like just a generic punch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that guy I'd at least love to see in person, but you know, that's just the vibe I get.
Wow.
I think we're on the same page.
This is wild.
Any other Kimono Gosling is so funny. I'm just what kind of beverages does Ryan Gosling have?
Oh, fermented yogurt for sure. You know, those like fermented yogurt drinks, those 100%.
Yeah. Kombucha, probably.
Absolutely.
But like lemon or something, like one of the ones that's like actually hard to drink.
Yeah. And it all tastes like feet.
Too sour.
Let's be very clear. It all tastes like feet.
Yeah. But sometimes it's like appley feet.
What
like if someone was like making fermented beer? Like it was cider. I'm just too busy thinking about somebody stomping on apples like grapes into wine, you know?
Sure.
And like they take a foot out and you just kind of suck it right off of there. Like that's what the Pink Lady kombucha is.
Well, I know exactly the flavor you're talking about. I know exactly the flavor you're talking about. Today I learned that kombucha is Quentin Tarantino's favorite drink. What do you think? What do you think Gosling's light beer of choice is?
Ultra, probably.
Oh, he would be a Michelob guy.
Yeah.
Wow. What's yours?
I mean, I like Michelob. I think I gravitate towards a Miller probably or a Coors.
Yeah, Coors.
Those are my faves. My dad drinks a lot of Ultra. But it's like, I want the healthiest option. It's just kind of like a no nonsense. You know, he's doing it like you drink Diet Coke. But Ryan Gosling, I imagine, is like, okay, we're gonna go all out, and I'm gonna have a couple Michelob Ultras.
Can I make a guess?
During the party?
Does your dad golf?
He golfs.
Yeah, it checks out. That's why he's a Michelob guy.
That's true. That's very true.
Oh
man,
boy.
They have their own cup holders, the Michelob cup holders in the golf carts. They reject any other beer.
Just throw them straight out. It's like those squirrel feeders that guy on YouTube made. Listener, what do you think? We're coming to a close here. We barely talked about Fall Guy. What did you think of the movie? Do you think it's a mess? Do you think Ryan Gosling is a mess? What do you think his favorite light beer is? Let us know. Send us an email, nerdy430@gmail.com. We will read it on the show. Tim, any closing thoughts?
I bet when Ryan Gosling cooks at home, he wraps a lot of stuff in banana leaves. Like he steams a lot. It's a lot of steaming.
Yeah.
He's got those wood baskets. He's like,
oh my God, dude. Yeah. He's making other stuff in the bow steamers. Like,
yeah. And you're like, soup dumplings. And it's everything but soup dumplings.
Everything
no
but,
carbs.
Man.
It's like I put some lettuce in the in the wood steamers over water.
Oh, it's a lot of lettuce wraps at that house. It's a lot of lettuce wraps at that house. We will be back
never
here
had a
again.
cabbage like this.
We'll be back here again next week with Mad Max Fury Road, prepping for Furiosa. And we'll see you then. Until then, stay nerdy, everybody. Bye.
Stay nerdy. Bye.